Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge.
And I'm Ashley Sledge.
And let's talk horror.
Today we're going to do our review on Mom from 2025.
So, struggling with postnatal depression and feeling misunderstood by her husband, Meredith begins to experience terrifying visions, foreshadowing an ultimate tragedy.
So we're going to talk about the negatives, we're going to talk about the positives, and then we are going to spoil the film.
So before we get started with our positives, we do want to give a trigger warning. This deals very, very deeply with postpartum depression and things that can happen with that. So if that's something sensitive to you, you might want to sit this one out. If you feel like you're ready, let's get right into the positives.
So some of the positives, the score is very chilling, especially in the opening. But really throughout the entire movie, it really brings out the feeling of just like depression. Like it makes it enhances it, which is really, it works.
As a man, I've never really dealt with any type of postpartum depression, obviously, but this seems like a very realistic interpretation of what someone goes through when they're feeling that. And it's very sad, very depressing to see what she's going through and how she just wants to be a better mom.
It really does. It touches on all the stress a new mother endures. Having to take care of a baby. Dad has to go back to work. Now I'm stuck at home with this baby. I've never raised a baby now. And not only that, but I have housework and my husband that expects dinner. And you don't really have a lot of support, especially in this movie. She didn't have a lot of support from her family. Unfortunately, her mother was no longer with her and she really didn't have anybody else. So
she tried to take on way too much on her own.
Yeah, and that's why women, have these issues right after birth. When it's supposed to be this really happy time, it's just like, we're surviving, man. We're surviving.
And especially the struggles that a new couple go through with no sleep, who takes care of the baby. It feels very real, and it was quite the opposite for us with our first baby.
Yeah.
The baby would not stop crying unless she had him. In this movie, the baby would not stop crying unless Dad got him. And so that made the mom also feel very, I don't want to say pissed, but like confused.
I think it was more like, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't feel good enough.
I grew you inside of me, and yet I can't get you to stop crying.
Yeah. And it does a really great job at being genuinely scary and making you just feel uneasy. Like, this is not an easy topic to talk about.
No.
And to put that in this movie, but also make it a horror movie, I felt like they did a really great job with that.
There's not very many jump scares in this movie.
No.
It's a lot of just uneasy, anxious, real life horror. So those are some of our positives that are spoiler free. Now let's get into some of our negatives.
So some of the negatives, Ken's issue is someone guzzling water. Mine is someone is clicking their fingernails or like scraping them on something. It drives me crazy. It makes me crazy. And Meredith did that a lot throughout that movie. Oh, stop it. Like, I think it was like her coping mechanism, but it made me want to go into depression.
Yeah. Another thing, it's hard to put this as a negative, but it repeatedly shows the same things, the same routine, the same patterns. And again, I get why.
Yeah.
Because she feels like she's stuck, like everything's the same, baby won't stop crying, she's trying the same things. I get it, but it gets to the points where it's like, I want to see something different.
Yeah.
And again, this is one of those like positive / negatives because it does enhance the anxiety and the irritation of the film, but at the same time, I'm starting to get irritated.
Yeah.
So.
There's a couple storylines that don't really go anywhere, like with neighbors and stuff like that. It almost feels like pointless, just thrown in there to get filler time. Yeah.
And the ending is not going to sit well with some people.
No. I mean, the ending is very dark.
I love the ending.
I do too.
I think the ending's brilliant, and I think the ending you can interpret it in different ways on what happens at the end, which I think is something that it's not wrapped up in a pretty little bow, but you can easily interpret what you think happens at the end. And
we have enough information to do so. Yeah.
Right. So, like I said, there's not very many negative spoiler free that we could talk about. So, like we said, this film is available today, VOD. It is available in select theaters. So if you can, go check it out. But for now, let's get right into our spoilers.
All right, guys, like we said, we're going to spoil this movie now. So there is a dream sequence of baby Alex where he is on fire, and it's just like, oh, like they really go there in this movie.
There's a lot of dream sequences, which plays into the big bang that goes into it. There's also a scene where Meredith, where she's pushing baby Alex in a swing. And I mean, she's pushing baby Alex.
It's like she's so out of touch. And
she's just rocking the shit out of him. And you're like, something bad's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. I know it.
Yeah, it's just like she's just being, like you
super
said,
aggressive.
So aggressive. And she's just so out of touch, just like has no idea what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's constantly seeing a vision, a ghost of Alex as like a younger boy, like not a baby anymore. And then behind him normally is like this monstrous woman, and you kind of find out who this monstrous woman is later on.
But throughout the movie, you're like, you don't even know at first that this is Alex.
Right.
You just see a little boy following her around the house.
He
it's implied.
Says,
Mom.
Yeah. And then he always is like, she's here. Like he's afraid of this monstrous woman.
Mm-hmm. So in the middle of the second act, she's going through one of her outbursts again and one of her dream sequences, and she takes Alex into the bathtub and starts running the water, and then she goes back to bed, and you're like, man, can we? And then her husband reaches over, Jared, and feels her and feels that she's wet, and he runs to the bathroom, and she fucking drowned the baby for real. She left the baby in the bathtub, and this is the middle of the second act, and you're just like, no.
You're like, did she really just do that? Like,
Jared, I want to say, we didn't say this during the positives, but the two leads here, fucking awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Jared does a great job of feeling isolated, but still trying to love. And M plays this victim, and I'm not saying that lightly, so well. And they did a great job. And like I said, you're in the middle of the second act, and this baby just died.
Yeah. And like you said, you're like, it's a dream, right? Like, this isn't real until you hear that scream, like, what did you do?
Yeah.
And then you see the baby's coffin, and it's this tiny little coffin.
Well, the coffin's not the baby's tiny.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's small. It's smaller for, like, a young child, because, like, she says so he can grow
So he can grow.
Yeah, and you're just like, she's lost it. Like,
she's out of touch with reality at this point.
Absolutely. It's really sad.
She can't, this is her coping mechanism. In her mind, Alex isn't dead, he's that little boy.
Right.
So that's why she said she needs the coffin a little bit bigger so he can grow inside of it. Well, instead of going to prison, she goes to a mental hospital for a couple of months. And she's just like, why are you doing this to me? Alex is here, he needs me. And we kind of get a time jump here because we don't really see much of her in the hospital, which is something we couldn't really talk about in the negatives. But we get like a couple month time jump here that just, out of nowhere.
So once she goes back to the house, she actually sees Alex's ghost, the older boy, way more, and is like trying to raise him and
makes him a bedroom.
Yeah, she completely takes down everything from his nursery and like makes him a big boy bedroom, and
she stops taking her medicine.
Yeah,
because she can't see Alex anymore.
Right, and no one else can see him, and she's just like, what do you mean? Like, he's
right there.
Yeah.
Well, they have a dinner, and obviously nobody else can see him. This is where she really breaks down again, and Jared's like, we're going to have to take you back to the hospital. I love you. Jared doesn't want to stay at the house because,
the trauma that happened.
His baby died there.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't help you. You don't want to be helped. You stop taking your medicine. Well, she ends up stabbing him and beating him to death with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Because Alex is telling her, like, I don't like Daddy.
Yeah.
Daddy's trying to take me away from you. So she ends up killing Jared, like, in the foyer of the house. And you're just like, what in the fuck is happening here?
And so after that, she goes to the basement and she unlives herself. And the movie ends with her ghost like watching them from the beginning come to the house. So they have new baby Alex just out of the hospital. It's like they're trapped, or she's trapped in this never-ending cycle. And she was like the other mother, like from
The whole time.
Coraline.
Yeah, she was the other mom.
Like the evil monster. And
Alex always says he's scared of her.
yeah.
Because at this point, we find out at the end that she, like I said, she's been the other mom the whole time, but this version of her dissipates
Yeah.
once okay, we got M1 and M2. M1 is one we've seen the whole time. Well, once M1 sees M2 for the last time, she just dissipates and disappears. And Alex is like, she's gone. So then when she unalives herself in the basement via rope, this is when you realize she becomes that. And she becomes this dark, like almost cloud over this ghost of baby Alex. And the way that I interpret this ending is she herself is stuck in this never-ending cycle. Again, there's so many different ways you could take this ending, but you see her in the window from the opening. And it's funny because at the opening, they never pan to that window.
No.
Like it's blocked by a pillar that's out in front of the house. Because we went back and rewatched it like, was she in that window the whole time? But now you realize that she's there throughout that scene trying to stop them from coming in. So
Well, when they also get home, like the door is open, like nobody locked the door, so it's like, you know, was that her?
trying to get them to leave, you know, trying to stop what's going to happen to them. So overall, I'm going to give this movie a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's a very accurate depiction of postpartum depression, but it had enough horror in it. You know, it wasn't just a real life horror story, which is scary enough. They did add the elements of the supernatural into it as well, which I really appreciated. So genuinely had a very good time with this movie.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. Again, like you said, it really does touch on postpartum depression, but horror is still the forefront of the movie.
Yeah.
But especially like for me, like I've gone through this, like I've felt, not to that extent, like I didn't, you know, completely lose my marbles, but I can see why a woman would.
Right.
And it's really hard for them to get out of the feeling of the cycle of this is my life. I get up, I change poopy diapers, and you know it's just a cycle, and you feel stuck sometimes. So I felt like they did really well with the feeling that a woman feels, the loneliness, and
Well, I just love at the end how she's trying to warn herself.
yeah,
One of the big themes throughout the movie is, am I a bad mother? You know, and her seeing all this stuff, it's so hard to wrap up into a little bow.
yeah.
But I love it. Like, this is one of those endings that I think that it's brilliant the way that she's watching them come in the house and trying to stop them, and then they end it right there.
I feel like even women that do want children, because it almost felt like she never really wanted her own kids, but even women that do want children, you know, sometimes you feel like, am I good enough?
Right.
Am I a good mom? You know, and the kids are fine, and they're like, yeah, you're the best mom ever, but it's still
You're constantly beating yourself up.
Yeah, for sure.
So let us know down in the comments, what did you guys think of Mom? What are your thoughts on the ending of this movie? What is your interpretation of the end of this movie? We would love to know that as well. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help build the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Our links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror,
Stay who you are.
and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye, guys.